Let us address the heavy, suffocating weight of the quiet that often stretches between a man and a woman, because this silence is almost never a void, even if your anxiety tells you otherwise. For most men, a phone that refuses to buzz or a notification tray that remains empty feels like a definitive death sentence for attraction. Yet you must understand that silence is often a form of high-intensity communication that requires a different set of ears to hear. You see that empty space, and you immediately fill it with your own insecurities, telling yourself that she has moved on or that she has completely forgotten your name. But the truth most men do not want to hear is that a woman's silence is often her most crowded room. It is the place where she weighs the emotional gravity of your presence, where she processes the resonance of your last interaction, and where she tests the strength of the connection you have built without the interference of spoken words. The female brain is neurologically wired for deep emotional integration, meaning that while a man might look for a direct signal, like a text or a call, a woman is often navigating a landscape of residual feelings that do not require an immediate outward expression to remain alive. This is the insider's map that you have been missing, a psychological breakdown of why her lack of speech is often a sign of her mental presence rather than her absence. We are going to dive into 7 specific scenarios that will help you interpret this silence without the panic that usually drives men to sabotage their own success. We will move away from the desperation of the unknown and into the power of psychological clarity. By the time we are finished, you will no longer see silence as a threat, but as the workshop where attraction is either forged into something permanent or allowed to mature into a deeper bond. This is about giving you the confidence to stand still when your instinct is to chase. Recognizing that a woman who is thinking about you is leaving traces of that thought process in the atmosphere around you, if you only know where to look. Scenario 1 involves the phenomenon of the unexpected memory trigger, where you occupy her mind without a single effort on your part. You might think that once you are out of sight, you are out of mind, but women are the primary archivists of relational history, storing small details that you likely dismissed the moment they occurred. She remembers the specific way you looked when you were caught in a moment of genuine passion, the exact inflection of your voice when you shared a vulnerability, and the lingering scent of your cologne on a cold evening. These are not just memories. They are emotional anchors that can be triggered by the most mundane events in her daily life. She might be walking through a grocery store and see a brand of coffee you mentioned once. Or she might hear a song on the radio that played during a drive you took together. And suddenly you are standing in the center of her mental stage. She does not reach out because she is busy processing the sudden weight of that memory, questioning why it still has the power to stop her in her tracks. This mental echo is a signal that the frequency you established has not faded out. When you understand that your ghost is already doing the work for you, you realize that your presence is felt in her silence more strongly than it ever could be through a forced, desperate conversation. Most men make the mistake of trying to manufacture these moments, but the real power lies in the fact that they happen organically when you have left a significant enough impact. You are the thought she did not plan on having today, and that is a position of immense strength. The second scenario focuses on the emotional reactions that happen entirely without words, where her body and her subconscious patterns give away what her voice refuses to say. When a woman is processing feelings for a man, her internal landscape is active with micro-reactions that manifest in subtle ways. You might notice that she is suddenly more active on social media in a way that seems designed for an audience of one. Or perhaps she goes completely dark, retreating into a shell to protect herself from the intensity of what she is feeling. This is not about games. It is about the internal pressure of attraction. A woman who is indifferent will remain consistent in her behavior because you do not trigger a change in her state. But a woman who is thinking about you will often exhibit erratic shifts in her digital or social presence because she is trying to manage the internal pull she feels toward you. You must learn to read the emotional climate rather than just the literal words. If you pay close attention, you will see that her silence has a temperature. Sometimes it is cold and distant, which suggests a defensive withdrawal, but often it is warm and heavy, suggesting a woman who is waiting for the right moment to bridge the gap, but is currently lost in her own reflection. Third, we must acknowledge that she notices everything about you, even from a distance, acting as a silent observer of your growth and your consistency. Women are natural researchers of character. Even when she is not talking to you, she is likely watching how you move through the world, how you interact with others, and whether you are staying true to the man you claimed to be. Your silence in return is just as communicative to her as her silence is to you. She is looking to see if you will crumble under the pressure of the quiet, or if you will remain a steady, grounded force. When she sees you continuing to pursue your goals, maintaining your fitness, and engaging with your life with passion, her mental image of you shifts from a mere acquaintance to a man of high value. She is silently comparing the reality of your actions against the noise of other men who try to win her over with empty words. This observation period is crucial because it builds the foundation of trust and respect that words alone cannot establish. She is thinking about you every time she sees a post, hears a rumor about your success, or notices a change in your demeanor. This is the silent audit of your worth, and if you are a man of substance, you will pass this test simply by existing authentically. The fourth scenario is the subtle way she tests your attention through proxy signals. Sometimes a woman will use her silence as a tool to see if you are truly paying attention to the nuances of her life. She might post something obscure that only you would understand, or she might show up in places where she knows you will be, all while maintaining a mask of indifference. These are not coincidences. They are invitations for you to notice her, without her having to risk the vulnerability of a direct approach. She is thinking about you, and wondering if you are thinking about her enough to catch the breadcrumbs she is dropping. If you react with desperation, you fail the test. But if you acknowledge the signal with a calm, centered awareness, you signal that you are a man who is attuned to her frequency, without being controlled by it. This is a delicate dance of awareness, where silence acts as the stage for a much deeper game of emotional chess. Fifth, we consider the random sensory connections that pull her back to you when she least expects it. The human brain is incredibly sensitive to sensory input, and for women, these inputs are often tied directly to the limbic system, which governs emotion and memory. A specific smell, a certain texture, or even the way the light hits the floor in the late afternoon can trigger a cascade of thoughts about you. She might be in the middle of a meeting and suddenly find herself transported back to a conversation she had with you because of a phrase someone used. These are the involuntary moments of mental presence, where you occupy her space without her permission. It is a powerful form of psychological haunting that keeps the connection alive even during months of no contact. You must realize that you are not just a person to her. You are a collection of sensory experiences that have been woven into the fabric of her daily life. This is why silence is rarely empty. It is filled with these sensory ghosts that keep the flame of interest flickering in the background of her mind. Sixth, she is constantly making silent comparisons between you and every other man who crosses her path. This is a truth that most men find provocative because it suggests a competitive landscape, but it is the reality of female selection. When she is quiet, she is often evaluating the way you made her feel versus the way other men attempt to make her feel. She is thinking about your masculine frame, your ability to lead, and the way you handled conflict. If you were a man who provided a unique emotional experience, she will find that other men pale in comparison. Her silence is the time she spends realizing that what she had with you is not easily replaced. She is mentally scrolling through the roster of her experiences and finding that you are the benchmark. This internal evaluation is what eventually leads a woman to break her silence, but it only happens if you have given her something worth comparing everyone else to. Finally, Scenario 7 is the ultimate wake-up call regarding your own value and how it relates to her silence. This is the moment where we shift the focus from her actions to your self-perception. You must understand that if a woman is silently thinking about you, it is because you have projected a level of value that demands her attention. However, if you spend your time obsessing over her silence, you are effectively lowering your own value in your own eyes. You are giving her the power to determine your worth based on a text message or a phone call. The mentor's truth is that her silence should be your cue to go deeper into your own life. When you recognize that you are a man of inherent value, her silence becomes a period of peace rather than a period of anxiety. You realize that whether she speaks or not, you are still the same man who achieved his goals, who stood by his principles, and who offers a world that any woman would be lucky to inhabit. This shift in perspective is what actually attracts women back into your orbit. They can feel the energy of a man who does not need their validation to feel complete. Her mental presence is a byproduct of your self-assurance. If you want her to think about you, stop worrying about whether she is, and start being the man who is impossible to forget. This is the essence of empowerment. It is about taking the energy you were using to decode her and using it to build yourself. When you do this, the dynamic shifts entirely. You are no longer the one waiting for a signal. You are the signal. You are the mountain, and she is the one wandering in the valley of her own thoughts, eventually looking up to see that you are still there, unmoved and magnificent. This is the realization that changes everything. It is the end of confusion and the beginning of a new way of being. Silence is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally if you have the strength to let it work for you. It is the canvas upon which her attraction is painted in the quiet moments of her life. Respect the silence, understand its hidden architecture, and most importantly, respect yourself enough to let it be. Now, consider the depth of what we have discussed. Silence is a multi-layered psychological state. It is a protective mechanism, a reflective pool, and a testing ground. When a woman chooses not to speak, she is often speaking the most. She is telling you about her fears, her desires, and her need for space to understand her own heart. If you can learn to navigate this without the typical male urge to fix, chase, or demand, you place yourself in the top 1% of men. You become the man who understands the feminine soul. You become the man who can sit in the quiet and feel the vibration of her thoughts without needing a single word of confirmation. This is where true intimacy begins, not in the noise of conversation, but in the shared understanding of the silence. It is about the subtle, nonverbal indicators that prove she is mentally present. It is the way she lingers on your social media, the way she asks mutual friends about you in a roundabout way, or the way her energy shifts when your name is mentioned in a room. These are the pulses of attraction that survive even when the phone is dead. You must train your intuition to recognize these signals so that you can remain calm and centered. The more you understand the psychology behind it, the less likely you are to react from a place of lack. You are operating from a place of abundance, knowing that a connection that was truly felt never truly dies. It simply goes underground for a season. This is the truth that will set you free from the cycle of overthinking. You are a man of impact. You are a man of presence. And her silence is simply the echo of that presence reverberating through her mind. Let it echo. Let it grow. Let it become the very thing that draws her back to you with more intensity than before. But do not wait for it. Live your life as if you have already won, because a man who knows his worth has already won the most important battle there is. This is the path of the mentor, the path of the man who sees through the veil of the physical world into the psychological reality of human connection. We have moved through the problem of misinterpretation, provided the solution through 7 specific scenarios, and arrived at the empowerment of self-value. This is the complete map. Use it wisely. Do not let the silence break you. Let it make you. Let it be the forge where your patience and your strength are tested and proven. When she eventually does reach out, and if the connection was real, she almost always will, you will be a better man for having survived the quiet. You will be a man who is not easily shaken, a man who knows that his value is not tied to a screen, but to the soul. That is the kind of man a woman never truly forgets. That is the kind of man who stays in her mind forever. Think about the times you have been silent yourself. Was it because you didn't care? Or was it because you cared so much that you didn't know what to say? Often, it is the latter. Women are the same, but with an even greater emphasis on the internal processing of those feelings. They are navigating a sea of societal expectations, personal boundaries, and emotional fluctuations. Your role is to be the lighthouse, steady and bright, providing a fixed point for them to find their way back to when their internal storm subsides. If you are constantly moving the lighthouse, they can never find home. Stay put. Stay strong. Stay silent if you must, but stay valuable. This is the final piece of the puzzle. The architecture of silence is built on the foundation of your own character. If the foundation is weak, the silence will collapse the relationship. If the foundation is strong, the silence will only serve to reinforce the structure. You are the architect of your own emotional world. Build something that can withstand the quiet. Build something that she will want to inhabit for the rest of her life. As we wrap this up, I want you to take a deep breath and let go of the tension you have been carrying about her. The silence is not a ghost story. It is a love story that hasn't been written yet. It is the preparation for the next chapter. If you can master this, you can master anything in your relationships. You will no longer be a victim of circumstances, but a master of your own destiny. You will see the signs, you will understand the patterns, and you will act with the grace and the power of a man who knows exactly who he is. Silence is the ultimate test of faith in oneself. Pass it, thrive in it, and watch as the world and the women in it respond to the man you have become. This is the truth. This is the way forward. This is the end of the confusion. Now go out there and live as a man who is worthy of being thought about in the quiet hours of the night. Do not settle for anything less than the respect you have for yourself. When you hold yourself in high regard, the rest of the world has no choice but to follow suit. The silence will eventually break, and when it does, make sure you are the man she expected to find, the one who didn't need the words to know his own heart. This concludes our journey through the hidden language of her mind. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Have you experienced this kind of silence before? Have you seen these 7 signs in your own life? Your experiences are the fuel for this community's growth. Share them below and let us continue this conversation. Remember, silence is never empty. It is a reservoir of potential. Learn to drink from it without fear, and you will never be thirsty for validation again. You are the master of the quiet. You are the king of your own mind. Stay focused, stay grounded, and as always, stay true to your own value. The signals are there. The connection is alive. and you are more than enough. Never forget that. The silence is just the beginning of the next great realization in your life. Embrace it with open arms and a steady heart. The truth is often found in the places where no one is speaking. Listen closely, and you will hear everything you need to know about her, about the world, and most importantly, about yourself. This is your time. This is your moment of clarity. Take it and run with it. The world is waiting for the man who is not afraid of the quiet. Be that man today, tomorrow, and forever. Let the silence be your strength, your teacher, and your guide. You have the map now. The rest is up to you. Stand tall, speak when it matters, and listen when it doesn't. That is the secret to a life of power and a relationship of depth. Thank you for walking this path with me. I look forward to hearing your stories of transformation. Until next time, stay aware, stay confident, and keep moving forward. The silence is yours to command. Make it mean something extraordinary. Your journey is far from over. It is just becoming more interesting. The depth of your understanding is the measure of your success. Keep digging deeper. Keep learning. Keep becoming. The silence is watching, and it is impressed by what it sees in you. You are the man of the hour. You are the man of the silence. Now, go and show the world what that truly looks like. There is a whole world of nonverbal communication waiting for you to discover it. Every look, every pause, every missed call is a chapter in the book of your life. Read them with care, but do not let them define you. You define the book. You write the ending. And in your version of the story, the silence always leads to something greater. It always leads back to the truth of who you are. This is the final word. The silence is now yours to fill with your own greatness. Do it with pride. Do it with honor. Do it with the knowledge that you are never truly alone in the quiet. You are there with yourself, and that is the best company you could ever have. Let the woman in your life see that, and she will never want to leave your side, even when she has nothing left to say, because she knows that in your silence, she is safe. In your silence, she is seen. And in your silence, she is loved more deeply than words could ever express. This is the power of the architecture of silence. Master it, and you master the heart.